In this video, we're going to be doing some of the homework problems in section 3.3, and we'll look at the very first problem. For each of the following, find the whole number that will make the equation true. So in part A, in the problem, 3 times z is equal to 9. So we want to find out 3 times what number will give us the answer of 9, or the product of 9. And it'll have to be 3, because 3 times 3 does equal to 9. Part B, in the problem, 30 is equal to 15 plus 3 times z. We want to find out what z is equal to. Alright, in this case here, 3 times some number, and then we're going to add 15 to it. That's going to give us an answer of 30. And that's going to be 5. Because if you take 3 times 5, that will give you 15. 15 plus the 15 will give you 30. So 5 would be the correct solution to this particular equation. Part C, in problem Z, in this problem, z times, in parentheses, 3 plus 5 is equal to z times 3 plus z times 5. And we want to find out what z is going to equal to, what number will satisfy that particular equation. In this case, any number that you assign to z will satisfy that particular equation. So, in this case, we type R for the set of all real numbers, because any real number that you assign to z will satisfy that equation. Okay. All right, let's look at the next problem. Determine whether the following sets are closed under multiplication. 0, 12. Would that be closed under multiplication? Well, if you take 12 times 12, that's going to give you 144. 144 is not in the set 0, 12. So, no, this would not be closed under multiplication. All right, now part B. Is 6 times 12 times, 6, 12, 18, and so on closed under multiplication? Multiply 6 times 12, that will give you 72. 72 is in this particular set, so it would be closed under multiplication. 12 times 18, that product is also included in that set as well, because this set is infinite. It goes on and on and on. Is 6, 8, 12, 6, 8, 10, 12 closed under multiplication? Okay, this would be closed under multiplication, because let's say 10 times 12, that's 120. That 120 would be in that particular set. So, yes, it is closed under multiplication. Okay. All right, let's look at the next problem. And here we want to place parentheses if needed to make the following equation true. Okay. So this first one, we want to choose the correct solution for 4 plus 3 times 5, and we want that equal to 35. Well, let's first put the parentheses around the 4 plus 3. Because 4 plus 3 will be 7. 7 times 5 will be 35. Okay? Because if we were to leave that out, leave those parentheses out, then you'll do 3 times 5 first, and then you have to add 4. So to make that answer 35, you have to put the parentheses around the 4 and the 3, or the 4 plus 3. Okay, the next one, you're going to choose the correct solution for 15 divided by 5 plus 1 equals to 4. 15 divided by 5 plus 1 is equal to 4. Notice I'm putting the parentheses around the 15 divided by 5, which will give me 3, and then 3 plus 1 will give me 4. Now, basically, I don't have to do that because, number one, even without the parentheses, it would, even without the parentheses, order of operations will tell me to do the division first. So 15 divided by 5, that will give me the 3 plus 1, which will be 4. So this will be the correct answer without the parentheses. So here, the parentheses on the 15 divided by 5 would not be necessary. Okay, this one, 5 plus 4 plus 9 divided by 9 should give me 2. Let's put the parentheses around the 5 plus 4 plus 9. That would give me 18. 18 divided by 9 would give me 2. So in this case here, it would be this answer choice. And part D, choose the correct solution for 5 plus 6 divided by 2 plus 5 is equal to 13. Let's see, if I do, actually I don't need parentheses here. Because look here, if I have 6 divided by 2, that'll give me 3. Because I have to do order of operations first, which means the division has to be done first and then add the addition next. So actually, it would be this answer choice. Okay. So here there are some situations where you may need parentheses, others you might not. Okay, now let's look at the next problem. For each of the following, find whole numbers to make the statement true if possible. In part A, you got 10 divided by 5, which means 5 times some number will have to give you 10. That's going to be 2. Okay, now part B, some number divided by 33 will be 0. It will have to be 0. Because 0 divided by any number will be, any non-zero number will be 0. And then 16 divided by some number will give me 8. So you can think of this, 8 times what number will give you 16? And that's 2. Because 16 divided by 2 does give you 8. Okay. All right, let's look at the next problem. A designer has designed different tops, pants, and jackets to create outfits. How many different outfits can the models wear if she has designed the following pieces? 8 tops, 9 pants, 2 jackets. This one we're going to have to use a fundamental counting principle. So that means you're going to multiply 8 times 9 times 2. Well, 8 times 9, that's 72. 72 times 2 will be 144. So there are 144 different outfits that the models can wear. Okay, now the next problem, we're going to look at each one of these individually because we're going to find out which property is illustrated in each of the following. Okay, so let's take a look at part A. Which property illustrates this? 3 times and in parentheses 6 times 7 is equal to, and in parentheses 3 times 6 times 7. Notice the grouping is different. The order is the same, but the grouping is different. So anytime you're dealing with grouping, you're going to be dealing with the associative property of multiplication. So that's answer A right there. The associative property of multiplication. Part B, 3 times in parentheses 6 times 7 is equal to 3 times in parentheses 7 times 6. Now take a look closely at the 6 times 7 and the 7 times 6. The order has changed. The 3 is still the same, but the order inside the parentheses is different. So this will be the commutative property of multiplication. Okay, you may think that it's going to be the associative property because you see the parentheses. Not necessarily. You have to look very carefully because the order inside the parentheses is different. 6 times 7 on the left side and 7 times 6 on the right side. Part C. Which property illustrates 3 times in parentheses 6 times 7, and that's equal to 6 times 7 that's in the parentheses times 3. The order is different. 3 times and then in parentheses 6 times 7 is first. The 3 is first and then the 3 is second. The 6 times 7 is second and the 6 times 7 is first on the right side. So in this case here, this is the commutative property of multiplication. Commutative. Okay, look at part D. Which property illustrates 1 times and in parentheses 6 times 7, and that's equal to 6 times 7. Well, 1 times anything is going to be anything because we're multiplying 1 times 6 times 7, and we came up with 6 times 7. That's the identity property of multiplication because we got 1 multiplied by that particular expression. Okay, so that's the identity property of multiplication because the 1 is the multiplicative identity in this particular situation. Okay, look at part E. 2 plus 6 in parentheses times 0 is equal to 0. Well, 0 multiplied by any number is 0, so that's the 0 multiplication property. Okay. And then part F. Which property illustrates this? In parentheses 3 plus 6 times in parentheses 2 plus 7 is equal to this. 3 plus 6 in parentheses times the 2 plus 3 plus 6 in the parentheses times 7. Here that 3 plus 6, that whole thing is being distributed over addition for the 2 and the 7 through multiplication. This 3 plus 6 is being distributed with the 2 and with the 7. So it's the distributive property of multiplication over addition. Okay, that's the answer right there. Okay, here's another problem. Here's the next problem that deals with the distributive property, by the way. The distributive property of multiplication over subtraction is this. A times, and in parentheses, B minus C is equal to AB minus AC. You're going to use this property to find each of the following. In part A, you get 8 times, in parentheses, 12 minus 3. Now, the way you're going to do that, you're going to distribute the 8 with the 12 and the 3 through multiplication. So this will end up being 8 times 12 minus 8 times 3. I'm distributing the 8 with the 12 and the 3 through multiplication. And then I'm going to simplify. 8 times 12 is 96. Minus 8 times 3, that's 24. 24 from 96 will give me 72. So that answer will be 72. And then part B, you got 40 times, in parentheses, 7 minus 3. We distribute the 40 with everything inside the parentheses, so this will be 40 times 7 minus 40 times 3. 40 times 7 is 280, minus 40 times 3, that's 120. 120 from 280 will be 260. I'm sorry, 160. 280 minus 120, that's 160. So in this case here, 40 times the quantity 7 minus 3 would be 160. All right, the next problem is a related multiplication sentence for 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. So what would be the related multiplication sentence? One would be this, 2 multiplied by 4 is equal to 8. Or you could say 4 multiplied by 2 is equal to 8. Okay, either way that's acceptable, because those two are related multiplication sentences. Okay, next problem. To find 7 divided by 5 on the calculator, you'll press 7, then your division key, and then 5, and then the equal key, which yields 1.4. To find the whole number remainder, you want to ignore the decimal portion of 1.4, multiply 5 times 1, and then subtract that product from 7. The result is the remainder. Now you're going to use your calculator to find the whole number remainder for 265 divided by 9. Okay, so in this case here, I'm going to use my graphing calculator here. If I do 265 and I divide that by 9, I'm going to get 29.444 repeating. Okay, but I want the remainder. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take away this part right here, which is the decimal. The whole number that's in the number that's in front of the decimal is 29. So I'm going to multiply the 29 times 9. That would give me 261. Now what I'm going to do here is take that 265, which was my dividend, and subtract that from the 261. That would give me the answer of 4. So that whole number remainder that I'm looking for is 4. Okay, so the whole number remainder is 4. Okay, because calculators only give like the decimal values there. So if you want to find the remainder, you have to take that whole number part, multiply it by your divisor, and then take that value and subtract it from the dividend to get your remainder. Okay, we got one more. Students were divided into 10 teams with 12 on each team. Later the same day, the students were divided into teams with 4 on each team. How many teams were there then? Okay, you got 10 teams with 12 on each team. So if you multiply 10 times 12, that's going to give me 120. So there were 120 students on that team, altogether, from 10 teams. And then the students were divided into teams of 4. So if you do 120 divided by 4, that means that there were 30 teams of 4. Okay, so we had 30 teams of 4 students each. Okay, and that should assist you with some of the homework problems in section 3.3.